A few months ago, we had participated in an OECD conference for legislative budget officers, and I found out that the creation of this function of legislative budget officers to support Parliament is, for the most part, a relatively new phenomenon. It's existed in the United States, this country, since the mid-1970s, and they probably have what's generally considered to be the gold standard for budget offices. They have a congressional system, not a Westminster type system, a little bit different, but still, it's by all indicators that Congressional Budget Office does a wonderful job. There are other big offices. Mexico has a big office, South Korea has a big office, and a lot of other countries around the world are actually looking at legislative budget offices to support the parliaments. I've been told that Uganda is looking at it as well. I understand we have some folks from Uganda here. I get calls, even in the last 2 weeks, I've got calls from the Australians and from some folks from Scotland about the creation of this type of function. I think it is needed. Having worked, on the executive side in those central agencies and budgetary environments, and only supporting the government, that there was just, if we could provide a similar type of expertise, a similar level of briefing to all parliamentarians in opposition, that the debate that goes around budgetary issues would be much richer. And so that's really, one of our kind of mission statements is just to raise the level of debate. We've been criticized even recently that that's advocacy, that we're actually promoting something like budget transparency. I'm actually okay with that. I want things to be more transparent, and I want, as budget officer, I want to see a higher level of debate. So when we produce these outlooks like we did today, we're not saying, as a budget office, that our numbers are going to be better than the Department of Finance's numbers. We're just providing some fiscal planning context for them to say, this recession could be a lot more severe than you thought. Your stimulus package might not be as big as you thought. So when you're talking about real policy issues, you should be talking about it maybe in a different context, not just the context that the Department of Finance put out, or in the case of the United States, the Office of Management Budget, or whatever the country is. So the idea is just to have a better debate on these sorts of issues. We, for the most part, we stay away from policy issues. We costed our Afghanistan engagement, which actually had a CETA component to it, which is very well done, and had a military component and a veterans benefits component. All right, when we did that costing, it was pure. We're financial cost accounts. We weren't saying, we should be in the war or not in the war, we should be spending more or less. We're just saying if you put all these things together, it's a pretty big number. And maybe it should be bigger, maybe it should be smaller, but this is what it is. The folks in the opposition in the legislature weren't getting access to that kind of information. So there is a need. At the end of the day, it will promote better debate. I asked a senior academic, Mr. Alan Shackwood, actually, who's well known in Brookings Institution, would it promote public trust? Because there's a big public trust issue in public sector financial management issues. And he says, Kevin, I'm not sure that it will, but that's okay, because you're still going to have better debate, and the trust will come eventually over time. Again, better trust, more transparency. I think the case is pretty strong for legislative budget offices. But it is a relatively new thing. It started in the United States in the 70s. We've seen it's kind of growing around the world now, trying to level the playing field between the legislative side and the executive.